Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. The argument of the changing demographics. White Christians are very scared of other races. It's strange. Very strange. Mohammed Hijab had a wonderful tweet really promoting fertility and family building that I enjoy. I shared on my community tab, shared the screenshot of the tweet. Andrew Tate seems to be very upset at the idea of more Muslim babies being born within Western borders. So who does he serve? And he was saying that tweets like Brother Mohammed Hijab's make people turn a blind eye, make whites turn a blind eye towards the innocent children being bombarded and buried under rubble, essentially. So think about that. Tate was agreeing with a guy who got upset that a Muslim brother was telling people to have children and that our birth rates are something that can help us, and not just to focus on how the Jays do with lobbying and political interest and political intrigue, stuff like that. And Muslims have, on average, a positive view of motherhood. Whites, let's say you take white Americans, well, the whole block of white liberal women promote abortion. There are lots of white liberal men who are fine with abortion. And if you look at how many of the groypers don't have children and who are they chose to be incels, even though the word incel means involuntarily celibate. But you see Nick Fuentes hasn't gotten married yet, and I'm sure he has no shortage of women who are willing. Some think he's closetedly gay. Catboy memes and stuff. But notice how many of the Christian influencers, how many kids are they having? And I have not seen white Christian women get mad at brown and black and Asians having children. I just noticed that it's white Christian men who feel that no one else should have babies, and yet they're pro-life. It's very bizarre. The Bible says be fruitful and multiply. It doesn't say, hey, you whites, you're the only ones who can have babies, so, you know. And the thing about demographics is, let's look at, people always cite Japan, but if you look at how many of the Japanese died in World War II, how different their culture was, how many men were wiped out, and how the birth rates of the Japanese are declining because there's more androgynous behavior, their work life is intense, and they watch cartoon, adult content, they're just not interested in making families. So they're going to naturally fade out because they just don't want to have families. And their culture is very different. So to cite them as an example isn't really proper. Okay? And the way China maintains their ethno-state, if you want to live with Skynet under communism, you know, if China was a Muslim country and it didn't have that totalitarianism, I think I would love it for the architecture and the cuisine. But China is not as loose as America is, with just allowing drug addicts everywhere and prostitutes everywhere, twerking in the street. You know, they have a totally different regimented culture. I mean, they literally had one-child policies. And then when journalists were documenting forced abortions, a lot of those journalists were censored. And China has a firewall. Okay? They are not a free speech nation. I'm not saying America is the most perfect with free speech by far, but to ignore everything that China is today and just focus on the racial unity, like the what is the word? It's going on my mind, but the racial monolithic angle is disingenuous, okay? And when you look at when the Spaniards came to Mexico and conquered, they interbred and there was new people. There's always going to be race mixing. New races will be born. Empires fade out. Land, does Austria exist anymore? Lombardy, which is now a part of Italy, used to be part of Austria. So if you were born in Lombardy, you'd be called Austrian. And then when it's no longer exists, you're now Italian. Do you see what I'm saying? Territories get redrawn, places get renamed, races mix. It is futile to focus on being white and having obsessive nationalism. Because at the end of the day, the way humans survived was, yes, you fight and defend your village, but people migrated. People traveled. People moved. Okay? Tons of people left Italy when Mussolini was going crazy. Okay? And the Irish left as well. Tons of those people were coming to the shores on the East Coast. Okay? And now, if you do an ancestry DNA, how many people are mixed? You'll see people have 4 different ethnicities up in them, and they'll be pale and just be called white. But if you look at Russian culture, Hungarian culture, you just look at the different customs, you'll see they are similar, but they're still different. And the fascinating thing about Christians is the Protestants and the Catholics went to war. It was white on white crime. They didn't think like, well, we're not going to harm you because you're white. You know, they fought in the name of their religion. When Mary Tudor burned Protestants at the stake, she didn't care what their color was of their skin. Alright? When the Spanish Inquisition happened, they tortured pale folk as well as anyone else. Okay? And so, when the Spaniards changed the language of Mexico, influenced the culture, influenced the architecture, well, they lost the war. The Mayans, the Aztecs, the Quiché of Guatemala, they lost the war. Land changes hands, you do what you can, but it gets conquered, as Allah wills. And you have to be willing to move and change and adapt. That's what life really is. And as the waves crash against the cliffs, even pieces of rock fall down into the ocean. The ocean beats and erodes cliffs and takes away sand. It's astounding if you just look at the weather, how things are redrawn. These fires in California, wiping out expensive million-dollar homes. Maps will be redrawn. Architecture will be rebuilt. Everything will be designed anew. And you have to be willing to let go of certain things. Alright, so to pretend that Western countries can go around dropping all kinds of bombs on other countries, and that people won't desire to live, that they should just stay there, starve, and die, it's just terribly dishonest. You can't prop yourself up as the greatest nations and then expect no one to knock on your door. It's very bizarre. And so, I have made videos saying, seed the wombs. I have constantly, if you look at my motherhood playlist, trying to motivate women to have children. Okay? Pushing polygamy, because polygamy means more Muslim babies. It means more women becoming moms. Okay? Celebrating the fertility that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. Okay? So, for Andrew Tate, who claims to be Muslim, to shame Brother Mohammed Hijab for promoting birth rates, whose side is he on? I'm tired of excuses for him. He's a new Muslim. No. What new Muslim fights against Muslim babies being born? Tries to talk down to Brother Mohammed Hijab because he's encouraging us not to lose hope and to use our wombs as resistance. Think about that. Think about that. So Tate is fighting for white Christian babies, not black Muslim babies. Not white Muslim babies. Asian Muslim babies. Okay, think about that. Okay, I'm trying not to let my mouth go off. But really think about that, brothers and sisters. How anyone can believe his faith at this point is glaring. Let me know what you think.